Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another video. Today we have company, we have Oppenheimer joining us on this recording. Today's video is not going to be about mixing or production or tricks or tips or anything like that. No, today's video is going to be aimed for musicians, for bands and artists that are just starting out. Those who are thinking of working with a producer or a mix engineer and could be a bit afraid, or just don't know about the entire process and what the best practices are per se. So today we're gonna see what information would a producer or mix engineer need, what type of files, in which way, all of those things. Okay, let's start the video assuming you're an artist or a band and you're looking to work with a producer for the first time, right? There's some bit of basic information and files that you will need to send to the producer in order to start working with them on one of your tracks. I'm going to be using Logic's built-in notepad to write everything down here just because it's easier, because we can write notes and also be on the door at the same time. So one of the very first things that you will need to send, if you have it, for example, is a demo of your song. Now, most artists that I work with, they usually play either a little bit of guitar or piano, or they got a loop from somewhere, or they have some sort of chord progression already written and a vocal melody. So if that's the case, if you have that, or if you have a well-written demo, for example, like a full band or something, that's the very first thing you will need to send. So we can write down the first thing is demo, if you have it. Along with that, there's some basic information that's needed before you start, like for example, what type of track you want to achieve, because sometimes you only have the vocals and the piano and it's not enough to see what kind of track it is, because it could be a ballad, it could be dance, it could be country, it could be anything pretty much. So along with the demo, if you have it, always good to send some references. So let's take this track for example, the one I produced for an artist called Lydia. When we first talked, she sent a demo, which was just a piano, like a lead kind of thing, and her vocals. Along with that, she told me the references I want to use are Charlie Puth, 5 Seconds of Summer, and because of all the conversation we had, which was quite extensive, I did use, she also wanted something like Beba Doobie, for example, because she wanted like something like pop rock. So let's write down references. So after this conversation, we agree on work on the track, and she sent me all the different stems that she had for the song. Now, what does it mean? Just in case you don't know what a stem means. Stem means each individual track that makes the whole song. So for example, this is the produced track. Let's say I produce this and want to send it to someone else to get it mixed, and they ask me for stems. What do I send? I need to send each individual track that I recorded or programmed or anything there is. These are the buses, which are made of different tracks. Like say, we have the kick, we have 2 sets of snares, we have snaps, toms, hi-hats, shakers, cymbals. Those are stems that make the drum bus. If you're working with a producer, in my case, I would normally ask for stems, so I could hear everything on its own. And why do I want that? One, because it's easier to figure out the lead part, for example. In this case, she sent me a MIDI, but if you don't have it, individual stems would be great for this. Also because it's easier to rearrange the parts. If you have stems, you can mix them up a little bit, do the whole production. Now, little side note, when you're sending stems, it's a really good practice to make them all the same length. Doesn't matter if your track, let's say, only starts here and it ends here. Make sure they all, when you bounce them, when you send them, they all start at the same point. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare to align and work with them properly. Okay, so we have the demo, we have the references, now we have the stems. Now, what else do we need to send to the producer? Now we have the information, we have the references, but there's also some bits of information that we need, like what's the BPM? BPM is how fast the track is. You can see it here on Logic, but I'm pretty sure you know all the tools. You can see it here too. This case is 100. And also really important is the key of the track. that will help us know the chord progression. If you do have the chord progression because you wrote the track, even better. Okay, what do we have so far? So we sent a demo, which is a full bounce, like it's called, you know, all the instruments and vocals together. We have references. We have the stems, which are the individual tracks. If we have MIDI, even better. And then we have the important information like BPM, key. What else do we need? This is not mandatory, but it's something I always like to ask, and I always like when artists give me the information, especially those that want the track to be written from scratch. If it's a band with a full track already, then I normally wouldn't ask this, but I will always ask about the instruments. What instruments do you want to hear? Do you want to hear electronic drums, organic drums, a mix of both? Do you want to hear strings? You want to hear electric guitar, clean guitars, acoustic guitars, anything that you want to hear. Now, let's see if we have to work with a mix engineer, which is normally a bit more simple than that. There's a couple of things that you will need to send as well, both information and files. So let's see what they are. So the first thing I would send are the stems. Most mix engineers will ask you for dry stems. What's a dry stem? Dry stem is just a basic recording with no effects or processing at all, unless it's absolutely necessary. What does this mean? So let's say we have these vocals here.
Let's analyze all the highs, they don't compare to the lows.
Now these vocals have a lot of processing on them. They have EQ, they have compression, they have saturation, reverb, delay, yada yada yada. When you send vocals to be mixed, ideally you will send them completely dry, so none of these and none of this, just like you recorded them.
Let's analyze all the highs, they don't compare to the lows. So what this shows us is why.
Just like that. Now, there's one exception where you can leave all the effects on. Actually, not can leave, you should leave the effects on. And that is when the effects are meant to be a sound design. So let's see a few examples of this. We have this part right here. You see that bumping effect? I left that on purpose on there because it's part of the how I want this track to sound no matter what. If you have anything that you added a bunch of cool effects and you're like, okay, I need this to sound like this, like that bumping effect or some weird thing, I don't know, whatever it is. Recreating that might be hard because you might have some special plugins or you did it in a certain way that the producer just cannot figure out what to do. So if that's the case, if you have that kind of situation, always leave it on. Okay, we have the stems. What else do we need to send? References are always a good idea. Obviously not for a production kind of reference, but a mixing kind of reference. This means how you want your track to sound once it's mixed. Now, I would normally ask for 1 or 2 tracks tops. If you have a lot of choice, then it gets a bit complicated. So we're gonna add references. Right after that, we need 2 key elements as well. Like we did before, we need a key, but this is just in case they need to tune vocals. If the vocals are already tuned, then no point. Include it if you want to, but there's no need. And then we have the BPM, mostly for time-based effects like delays and reverbs and that kind of stuff. So as you can see, working with a mix engineer is kind of easier in a way because you need less information, less things, to be honest. All right, guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's video about how to work with a producer or a mix engineer. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to see any type of content or any other video, just leave me a comment. I will make it happen if I can. And yeah, see you next time.